Yo, what's up, boys? Today I got an absolutely insane story time for you all about a Karen who punched a teacher because her son failed a test. That's definitely not something that you hear every day, and I figured that you all would really enjoy this one. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, boys. Alright, so this was sent in by a subscriber, and they were apparently told this by one of their teachers at the start of the year, and I just had to tell it to you guys. Now we're gonna call the teacher Mr. Jeff, and apparently he was a really chill teacher. He was one of those teachers that, was funny and joked around with the students, but at the same time, he was still good at his job. I personally got two teachers like that this semester, and yeah, it's pretty great. It definitely makes the classes a lot more fun or less unbearable when you have a good teacher. Like for math this year, I don't really like the subjects, but I got a good teacher for it, so the class is definitely less unbearable. It's definitely less unenjoyable. So this story allegedly happened about 2 or 3 years ago, and I guess that Mr. Jeff just told the subscribers class this year. So there was this kid in Mr. Jeff's class who I'm going to call Tyler for this story. Now Tyler was someone who really struggled at math, which was the subject that Mr. Jeff taught. Now it's not that uncommon to be bad at math. Me personally, I'm actually pretty good at math, but I kind of suck at everything else, so I guess that cancels out. Anyways, so Tyler really struggled in math, but he also didn't do anything about it. He did not do any of the practice homework, which I mean, don't expect to do well in the class if you're not doing the practice questions. They exist for a reason. Apparently, there was also math help offered at lunch for students who were struggling, which Tyler never went to. So he never did the homework or went to math help, and surprise, surprise, he fails a unit test, which yeah, this sucks and all, but he 100% did that to himself. I guarantee you, if he went to the math help or, oh yeah, did the homework, he most likely would have passed. For subjects like math and stuff, I seriously don't understand why people don't do all the practice questions. Now, if you're super confident that you know the stuff, sure, I get it, I've been there myself. But if you know that you're struggling and you still don't do all the practice questions, I don't know what to tell you. They're called practice questions for a reason. Anyways, one more thing that I should note was that Mr. Jeff was not mad at Tyler or anything. In fact, he actually showed Tyler where he went wrong to try and help him, and it's always really good when teachers actually try to help out the students who are struggling. I guess that Tyler told his mom that he failed the test because when the teacher checks his email the following morning, he sees that there's an email from this kid's mom saying that she would like to talk with him after class to discuss a quote-unquote serious issue. Now he assumes she wants to meet to talk about her son's grades and what he can do to improve them, which are what most parent-teacher meetings are about. So Mr. Jeff says that he can meet with Tyler's mom after school that day to discuss the test, and doesn't really think anything else of it. So the end of the day arrives, right? And Tyler's mom comes into Mr. Jeff's classroom to discuss the test, and immediately when she comes into the room, Mr. Jeff just gets a bad vibe from this woman. He doesn't quite know what it is, but he feels that something is really off. So the woman, who I'm gonna call Karen for this video, does not say hi or anything normal to greet Mr. Jeff. She opens with, "Why did you fail my son?" in a very aggressive tone, which instantly kind of startled Mr. Jeff. He thought that Karen would start the conversation by saying, "Hi, I'm Karen," or "How's your day going?" You know, something that's normal to start a conversation with. He did not expect to hear, "Why did you fail my son?" He just did not expect that. So Mr. Jeff replies to Karen with, "Well, he didn't answer a lot of the questions correctly, so I kind of had to fail him," which is the only correct answer to Karen's question. Tyler did not get enough questions right on the test. He failed. You know, it's pretty straightforward. I feel like that's pretty easy to understand. You don't get the questions right, you fail the test. It's that simple. But I guess that Karen didn't really like that answer too much because she looks visibly disgusted and says, "That's not true. Tyler is very smart. You made him fail on purpose." I don't get the logic behind that statement. Why would the teacher make him fail on purpose? It's his job to help him pass. Mr. Jeff, kind of in shock by that accusation, starts telling Karen, "Look, I get you're not happy that your son failed the test. I understand that. However, there was lots of practice homework that I don't know if he did, as well as math help at lunch if he was struggling, which he didn't come to. Also, I literally went over the test with him yesterday so he could learn for next time, but Karen cuts him off and says, "Stop the excuses, you should have just let him pass." Mr. Jeff is starting to realize at this point that he's dealing with what kids call a Karen, and he replies with, "Look, I get you're upset, but he had several resources available which he didn't use. If I passed him when he didn't do well on the test, I could lose my job, and I don't want to lose my job." And that's a very good point that Karen actually took a second to think about. Obviously, you don't want to lose your job by favoring someone to the point where you rig it for them. For example, I work as a timekeeper for hockey games, and it's a fun job that I actually really enjoy, and I definitely do not want to lose it. Now, I obviously cannot just give a team like 30 goals on the scoreboard just because I'm rooting for them. If I did that, I'd probably be fired on the spot. It's the same kind of logic here with the test. So Karen's thinking for a bit, right? And then she says, well, do you care more about your job or a kid's happiness? And I feel like that's a pretty dumb question. Obviously, the happiness of a student is important to him, but if it's between that and his job, he's gonna choose his job. And this isn't even like a little kid anyways, it's like a 16, 17-year-old. Mr. Jeff is once again just stunned by the question and tries to like politely say, no offense, but my job is kind of a bigger priority to me than rigging tests. But Karen must have just felt so offended by Mr. Jeff's response. It was like she's a Twitter user and someone said literally anything because she decides to punch Mr. Jeff in the face as hard as she can. Now, it wasn't a hard punch at all, but it definitely still hurt a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna pause the story time for just a moment. If you got a story that you want to send in, DM me on Discord or Instagram. The links to both are in the description. Now let's get back to the story time. Now Mr. Jeff is kind of more startled than anything else at this point, and he says to Karen, wait, did you just punch me? Which has got to be like the ultimate ego bruise, right? Like Karen just used all of her strength to punch this man in the face. And instead of crying in pain or going, ow, that hurt, he simply says, did you just punch me? This Karen just got put in her place. So Mr. Jeff decides that he's just done with Karen at this point, and he angrily tells her to leave right away, or he's calling the school security to come get her. And at this point, Karen has two options, right? She can leave and get out of this mainly unharmed, or she can stay and get escorted out of the school, which would be super embarrassing, and she might even get in some legal trouble. You would think Karen would go with option A and get out of there, but no. Karen decides that if she's already started punching the teacher, she has to continue. Because Karen, I kid you not, punches the teacher in the face a second time. That one did not hurt too much either, and at this point, Mr. Jeff is just done with this woman. He's tried to reason with her about why Tyler failed, and when she refused to listen, she punched him in the face, not once, but twice. If I was in the situation, I would have lost my patience a lot earlier. After getting punched the second time, Mr. Jeff immediately just grabs the phone and dials the number for the school security, because at this point, Karen has punched him twice. That's literally assault, like that's an actual crime. And I guess Karen finally realized, shoot, I might actually get in trouble for this, because that's when she finally just nopes out of there. She did end up leaving before security could find her, so yeah, that sucks. However, she was not free of punishment. Along with some legal stuff, Tyler did end up getting moved to another class after that. They didn't expel him because as bad as his Karen mom was, he himself did not do anything wrong. Anyways, if you want to listen to more stories just like this, I got an hour-long compilation on screen right now. There are some insane stories on there, including a spoiled brat who tried to steal some guy's dog.